Donald Trump is calling an end to Obamacare. It's not new information. He's basically been doing this ever since he came into office in 2017. He tried to sign an executive order to take away certain parts of Obamacare. And this recent surge from the GOP, along with him, came in the middle of the night last night in a tweet. Doesn't that sound familiar? He does these things in cowardice ways. So he tweeted to Supreme Court in order to make a case in order to kill Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. And if this were to be approved, or if the Supreme Court saw fit and they saw it in favor of Trump, then it could potentially affect 20 million Americans and their insurance benefits. So just think about that, especially at a time like this right now, in the heat of it, So it's just another major issue for the election season, and it just seems kind of heartless from Donald Trump for people that actually need this, especially right now, for you to not only be president of a country that has the most cases, but you also want to cut the health insurance for your citizens. So does that not sound brutal and disconnected? And he wants to get reelected for president. So if he's running on these type of issues, then I don't see how he can. But his people like him. So the CDC claims that the numbers are actually, the coronavirus case numbers are actually 10 times higher than being reported. So that means for every one case that's being reported, there's 10 cases just out there. There's 10 people that are positive for coronavirus that aren't on the books for it. So maybe we have a huge problem with the accuracy of our numbers. And what I'm seeing in the media is a lot of fear mongering, and I've talked to friends about it. I see people posting it on Facebook about how the media pushes this agenda of how coronavirus cases are rising, they're on the rise, and there's a surge in numbers, and we get the death tolls, and the death numbers aren't nearly as much as the actual cases. So yeah, I do agree with these people. This is something that's gonna last all the way until November, and I think that's kind of what Trump is banking on. People are gonna be so afraid all the way up until November about this nebulous coronavirus with no vaccine. But in actuality, if you put an additional number subset on there, which is the survival rate, then it would put the entire situation into context. Even though we don't have a vaccine, there's a certain number of cases in general, there's a mortality rate, people that are dying from it, and then there's actually people that recover from it, and the recovery rate is about 4 times as much as the death rate. So if people were putting that type of information out there, people may be more inclined to live their lives freely without the judgment of other individuals, or people may be less inclined to wear masks. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things in the media that are being pushed upon the citizens to kind of put them in a paralyzed state of fear, and it shouldn't be like that. Like CNN, MSNBC, they should put these numbers into context. You see these celebrities, these athletes in the news being tested positive for coronavirus all the time, and we don't see too many of them that end up dropping dead. I remember the first celebrity that I saw that tested positive was Tom Hanks. I'm sure he's doing fine right now. Who's the Cuomo brother? Is it Chris Cuomo, the CNN journalist? Him and his wife tested positive for coronavirus, and he's still reporting on news from his house. So it's a bunch of fear mongering. Not to say that this situation isn't serious, because it clearly is. There's not a vaccine for this virus that's worldwide, but it's serious for the people that it's going to affect. But for others, it just seems kind of like the flu, or just like the cold or something like that. It's not like the bubonic plague. It's not just killing anybody that it infects, like indiscriminate. It seems like it's a mild virus, but just by virtue of it having no vaccine, we can't contain it. So it's just going to spread by virtue of it being nothing to kill it. So in this situation, personally, in terms of Donald Trump dismantling Obamacare, in a time like this, mind you, it just seems like he really has a problem with either Obama's name being on it or Obama in general, because this Affordable Care Act has a majority approval rating. Whenever you look at the numbers and you read the polls, most Americans are in favor of the healthcare that we have. I mean, it's not a high majority, because it's still not the NHS. We don't have a national healthcare system. We pay for it, but it's better than nothing, which is what Trump would do. He would dismantle this and then put in place something of his own. We don't know when that would be. And do you actually believe that Donald Trump would do something like that? Or do you think that his bill would be more competent than the Affordable Care Act? I'm not so confident in that. And instead of trying to dismantle it, why don't you try to prop it up? Why don't you try to add to it? So personally, I feel like it's just him trying to undo what President Obama did. Simply that. That's really what it is.